females than males. I see you back there, but it still apply. I'm gonna just do a tale of two women, a balance sheet woman and an income statement woman. So the difference between the two, the balance sheet woman, she knows she's doing well based on her bottom line numbers. She looks at her budget, she knows everything that's going on. She keeps her debt to income ratio low. And if you don't know what debt to income, if you make $10,000, I'm just using that low number, that you're not spending 12, 13, 14, 15,000. If you're making 10,000, you want to be spending about, well, really you want to save 20% of that. So you want to be spending somewhere $7,000 to $8,000 and putting other money up. But in terms, what do we most do? We make 10, we spend, and if I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking from my life. If I make 10,000, I was spending 12, 13, might even been spending 20. I didn't have it. So I was constantly in debt. She doesn't count her liabilities, she counts her assets. And a good way to tell, when me and my wife teach at our son's school and just teach our children, the difference between an asset and a liability, assets put money in your pocket, liability takes money out your pocket. So we want to have assets that constantly put money into our pocket. If your house, most people think owning a home is an asset. It's not an asset to later on down the line, but we can break it down later why it's not an asset. You know, you got to think about it. Is that house putting money in your pocket or is taking money out your pocket? So, and she thinks about cash flow and investment first. She doesn't think about going shopping, which nothing's wrong with going shopping, but she's using her assets to take care of her lifestyle. So we have the income statement woman. This is the woman who goes to work 9 to 5. And again, it's nothing wrong with 9 to 5. She thinks she's doing well based on her income. I got a job, I got benefits, I got my own car, I got my house. You know, I'm doing good. Her income is high, but so is her expenses again. She's making that $40,000, $50,000 a year, but she's spending it as well. She doesn't differentiate between liability. She don't know the difference between liability and asset. She thinking Louis Vuitton bag and this and that is an asset, when really it's a liability to her. She may look good, but again, it's not doing nothing for her. It's doing great for Louis Vuitton, you know, but really nothing for her. Just to get a couple friends to give her some high five, some you go girls and all that stuff, you know. So, and she thinks about pleasure and her lifestyle first. She think about what she's going to wear to the concert, vacation she's going to go on. They just a different mindset of the two. So even though it's the teller to women, we can switch this over to teller to men. It doesn't really matter. But we definitely want to be on the influential side of these two people. So here, I work for a firm, well, I partner with a firm called Core Financial Partners. And they have a mission. And their mission, I love the mission. That's one of the things why I not bought into it, why I seen the vision, I believe in it. And their mission, we call it the 4S mission. And it's survival, living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know about y'all, but when I worked 9 to 5, that was me. Even when I was in the rental business, I lived rent check to rent check. Between the 30th and the 5th of the month, I lived at the post office because I was waiting for that rent check to come in because that supplied my lifestyle. So even on the W-2 side and on the entrepreneur side, I was in survival mode. So at the survival mode, we want to get you to security. Security is where you have 6 months of your income saved, as well as 6 months of your expenses. We want to start you off at 6 months of just your income saved for a rainy day, something happened, but the ultimate goal is to get you to also have 6 months of your expenses. So just to give you an example, if you make $50,000 a year and you spend $30,000, because we don't want to spend the 50 or 60, you spend $30,000, that's your expenses. We want you to have half of that, which is $25,000, as well as your expenses saved up. So you got to have about $50,000 to save just for a rainy day. If COVID hit or any pandemic hit, you put yourself in a position where you're good. You're not worried about certain things because you know you have that security. So success is where you start buying these assets that produce cash flow. They give you the independency. It gives you the independency, and I know we got a different crowd, not to work. It gives you the independency to not raise your hand for that overtime. It gives you the independency to say, you know, I'm gonna use my sick days, I'm gonna use my vacation time, not feel as though you have to go to work, you have to put yourself in that position. So we want to see people as success, but the ultimate goal is significance. Significance is where you make a difference in not only your life, but others around you, your grandchildren, your children, your great-great-grands. Put yourself in a position where you're making a difference in your family lineage that you probably never meet or never have met or may not meet. And we talk about grandchildren, great, and so on. We can do that. As many families out here that families is set up for generations to come. And we can do that. You don't have to make millions and billions and trillions of dollars to do that. And after today, hopefully, and working with me later on, I can show you how to do that with your income that you have right now. So also CORE has a philosophy. The more money doesn't keep you out of a financial situation, only financial education does. And that's what we believe. Think back. I'm trying to think of somebody, but think of celebrities, movie stars, entertainers that make millions and millions of dollars, and then they broke. They're broke because they lack the financial education. So even on a smaller scale, I know at one time in my life, the most money that I got was at tax time. Tax time was that one time a year, you get that lump sum money, and 2 weeks later, if you wasn't managing right, it's gone. You're back to nothing. You bought a whole bunch of needs, wants, and desires. And even on that smaller scale, if you had the financial education, you could have put yourself in a position to have that money still working for you today and still been able to get them needs, wants, and desires. So we got 3 money personalities, right? And I'm not calling nobody out. I'm not putting nobody on the spot. I wouldn't do that. As I go through, I just want you to think about which one you are. Which one you are. You could be 1, you could be 2, you can be all 3 in a sense. I hope not all 3, but you can be. So the first one is a debtor. The debtor was me. I've been there, done that, spend 100% of your income, has no collateral, nothing to show for it really. The only option for major capital purchase when you go buy that car, you put your $500,000 down, they give you whatever car payment they feel like you good because you riding off, but really you're in debt. And you lose control of your money. And that's the main thing. We don't want to lose control of our money. So if you look at this, let me see if I can get this pointer to work. If I get this pointer to work. Nope. So if you look at this up here, I can point up here, the debtor lives at the zero line. What happens? You go to, we use a car dealership. You go to a car dealership, you get a car. Your car payment loan is $10,000. You're down here. So as you make your payments, you're working your way back up to the zero line to get yourself out of debt. So that's what a debtor does. To borrow money, put yourself, if it's even a credit card, you putting it and you paying yourself back, and it's a repeated cycle. Most people who are debtors, they do this constantly. What happens? You buy that car, you pay it off, or you're close to paying it off. You trade it in, you go back in more debt, and you're paying it off. You do the same thing. A car for 2 years, whatever. I'm trading it in. They putting the balance left over on the new car. Now you further in debt, and you're still working back to that zero line again. So that's really inefficient. That's not how it's supposed to be, but that's how we look at life and thought. This is how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be in debt. You know what I mean? I don't know scriptures, and sorry for my mom and dad, I really don't. But God ain't intend for us to be in debt. He hasn't. He didn't want to. And it's a difference between bad debt and good debt. So here you lose control, start spiraling out of control. And I can tell you a quick story about when I had a car, one of my cars. I had a loan on it. Paying it, thought I could afford it, really couldn't afford it because I was living check to check. I was trying to keep up with the Joneses, wanted all the latest, all that great stuff. Comes the time, the repo man. Here comes the repo man. They calling me, they making it. I'm parking my car. I lived in Christiana Meadows. I lived in one building. I'm parking my car 4 or 5 buildings over, cutting through people things to keep away from the repo man. The car breaks down. I couldn't afford the car anyway. It needs some work. So what I do, I trade the car in, get another car with a payment. Couldn't afford the first one, and it just spiraled out of control. It got to the point where I just told him, come pick the car up. I can't do this no more. And that's what happens when we become a debtor. It can really get out of control. We talked about credit card debt. Hold on, where are the other personalities? Yeah, this is a new presentation they gave me. I'm sorry, it should be 2 more personalities. We're gonna jump to it. I don't know how credit card debt got here already, but we're gonna talk about it. So when I get done with this slide, you're gonna know the true cost of credit card debt. I don't know in this room if everybody have them, if you want them, if you use them, you don't use them, but credit card, the average is about $10,000. Most households got about $10,000 worth of credit card debt, or credit cards with all the limits, balances together. The average interest rate is at 18%, and we know they start at 0, and they can go up to 36, 37%, but 18 is in the middle. That's fair. So in this situation, that same $10,000, if you was able to put it in a position to just yield you 5% interest, let's see what it looks like. So having that credit card, and those who was 18 or in college, you know, as soon as you went to college, they was handing them out to you. All you had to do was sign your name, because banks know. So here, the first year you pay about $2,000 in interest. 40 years you pay $40,000, and in 40 years you pay about $80,000. And I know we're going way out in the future for some of us, but we have to look at that. We have to look. I might be telling my mom business, but my mom got a credit card she had since the 90s. You know what I mean? So she's pushing that 30, 40-year mark. So this is the interest that you would have paid the bank. And using credit cards, what do? We charge them up. Well, I ain't going to say everybody. What did I used to do? Charge them up, pay them down, charge them up, pay them down. So repeat a cycle. So this is this money you're just giving to the bank. And we're not even talking about principal. So if I still had that same $10,000 and I was to put it in a position to work for me, the first year I would have put about $2,000 of interest back into my pocket. Out of 20 years, $65,000, and out of 40 years, $240,000. So I say that is because my mom don't use her credit cards like that. But if she did, and she put herself in a position right now, going on 40 years, she would have been able to put $240,000 to the side that would have been working for her today. But I said I was going to show the true cost of credit card debt. So as we using these credit cards and we getting whatever we can afford, because that's really why we're using them, because we can't afford it, we want to pay for it later. You got to add these two numbers up. So in year 1, it's costing you about $4,000 to use that credit card. In 20 years, $105,000, and in 40 years, you're looking at about $320,000 that has cost you to use that one credit card. And households has more than one. So this is just how it works. But look, this is why the banks give them to you. The bank's giving it to you at 18%. Look at their interest. In year 1, they make about the same. In 20 years, they made $355,000 off of you using that one credit card with a $10,000 limit. But look at 40 years, $13.3 million they make off that one credit card. So what I want to show you all is how we can be the bank. How can we make that work for us? How can we put that money into our pocket? Because we have to do what the banks do, not what they tell us to do. So that's the debtor. So the saver is what my mom and them taught me growing up. Save your money, save your money, save your money. That's all I heard. Save your money. Put something away. Pay your tithes. Save your money. Save your money. Which is great. It's all I hear. Every time I see the screen, I think of my mom. Save your money. Stop spending it. Save it. Save it. Save it. Save it for what? You know what I mean? You know, so that's how it was in my mind growing up. So the saver lives at the zero line just like the debtor. Saves for the current lifestyle and expenses. Pays like paying cash to avoid interest. Uses savings for large purchases without replenishing it. I'm sorry, using savings for large purchases replenished without interest. Now, if you remember, the debtor lived below the zero line. The saver lives above. So we have the saver here. Just say you're saving $500, $10,000, $5,000, whatever it is. You guys just save that amount. If you use it for a down payment of a car, what happens when you give that money to that person? You back to zero again. So you're saving again, and you buy something else, another purchase. You might not be zero, you might have $500 in your account. But a saver constantly do it. Save, 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 spends, go down, save, 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 spend, go down. So the saver, because you're losing interest you could have earned if you had not drained your tank. By you spending all that money, you're losing the interest because you want to pay cash for everything. And again, I was like that. I was the type, oh, if I don't got cash to pay for it, I don't want it. but I'm giving away the opportunity cost. I'm going to talk about opportunity cost in a minute of what that really is. So saving, don't get it wrong, you have to save, it's great. But being a saver, you're taking that money, separating yourself from that money. You're losing what that money could have earned you. Because once you spend that money, it's going away from you forever. So opportunity cost, I talked about that. It's the potential future value of a spent dollar, right? In layman's terms, is what your money could have earned you in interest if you had invested it instead of spending it. Because once you swipe that card or give that money over the counter, you may get a good or servicing exchange, but that money is doing nothing else for you ever. And what I want to show you today is how to be able to give that card, that cash over to the other person, and your money is still working for you for life. So here go an example of opportunity cost. If you have an expense for $10,000 and you was able to put that $10,000 in investment that yield you 6% over 30 years, we still talking about long term. 30 years, your $10,000 would have compounded annually, and that $10,000 would have turned into $50,000. Plus, you still have your $10,000, as well as you have whatever you bought with that $10,000. So you have this goods or service, whatever it is, and you still have $60,000 in your account. This is how you can create wealth for yourself and your family, instead of just spending the $10,000 and it's not making you another penny ever in life again. And that came from the Rule of 72. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but the Rule of 72, Albert Einstein made that long before all of us. You know, he invented this, and it's a proven fact. So whatever your interest rate is, just think about it for a minute. If you know what your interest rate on your savings, your checking account, you might have something in the money market, whatever it is, if you divide that into 72, it tells you how many years did it take your money to double. So I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but just think about most savings accounts give you 0.00 nothing, because they really give you nothing. I know back years ago, I was always saying, man, if I can make $1 million off the interest, you know, I can live off about $80,000 a year to keep the them days is long gone. They're long gone. They give you absolutely nothing on your money right now. So it's like, why do we keep our money here? But we're going to get to that. So here, again, I jumped ahead. If your bank is giving you 0.00 nothing, I don't care what they giving you. Look at the years it takes for your money to double. If they giving you, most banks is around 0.05, 1,440 years. Who's going to see that in their lifetime? None of us. None of us going to see that in their lifetime. So I want to see my money double while I'm here. And if it doesn't double while I'm here, I want my children, my grandchildren to really see that money work for you. But this is where we're taught to put our money at, where they're giving us nothing. So, sad. Wealth creator. Here's the third money personality. And this person, this wealth creator, lives above the zero line. And this is what our goal is. This is how you get to significance on that 4S mission. Saves and uses OPM. OPM is other people's money. You gotta use other people's money. You gotta leverage it. I love using other people's money. Keep mine working for me, I take yours. Maintains liquidity, use, and control of their money. They have their money, it's easy accessible, and they have control of it. Most Americans borrow because they have to. Wealth creators borrow because they want to. And that's powerful. If you're in a position where you don't have to borrow the money, but I want to because I understand OPM and how it works. So here is their chart, their zero line. So if you see, I wish I could get this to point, but if you see in the beginning with their zero line and it's red, yeah, when they start out borrowing, they dip below the zero line, just like the debtor, but as they're paying it back, that red line is constantly rising. But the green line that we see on here that we didn't see on the other one is their money growing as it's rising. In this part right here, and why do they borrow OPM? Because the compound interest that they're earning on their money is more than the amortization interest that it costs them for that money. So if they're borrowing the money at 4%, and their money is compounded at 6%, you're winning all day. Why not borrow the 4%? You know, so that's what this chart is. So anybody can become a wealth creator. You can, I can, everyone in this room can become a wealth creator. You have to have the right philosophy and the strategies and take the necessary steps to do so. And this is what I teach. I show you how to become the wealth creator with your money coming in now. You don't have to go out and get a second job. You don't have to go out and do anything different. It's just a way of what you have now, looking at it, rearranging some stuff around, and then putting you in a position to become a wealth creator. So here we talked about the wealth creator and the saver. This is the difference between the two. These two personalities did the same exact. They saved the same amount of money. They received the same amount of interest. And they did the same expense over a 30-year period. Same expense over a 30-year period. So here they saved $5,000 a year. Their money rate of return was 5%. So they capitalized off the first 5 years. So if you go to the chart, when they get to around the 6th year, they made a capital purchase. Whatever it is, they bought a car, I don't know, got windows in their house, whatever it may be. But if you see the green, which represents the wealth creator, that's still standing strong. The saver drops back down to 0. He's starting all over again because they interrupted the compound interest of their money. And if you look at it over the years, as they're making the same expense, the wealth creator money is constantly rising and growing and compounding and working for them, as the saver money is working. So the difference between the two personalities become the wealth creator and the saver, knowing, understanding uninterrupted interest and compound interest, is $282,000. They did the same exact thing, spent the same amount, and over time, the wealth creator still had $353,000, while everything they wanted to buy, while the debtor had $71,000 still in their account, which ain't bad, but I'll take the 353. So I talked about this, and I want y'all to know how we do it. We do it through the infinite banking concept. What is it? The creation and utilization of a pool of money that is controlled by a private individual. And a private individual could be, it's me, could be you, could be your grandchildren, could be your son, could be your daughter, whoever it may be. It's a private individual. The banking business is all about controlling a pool of capital that can flow at a cost to meet somebody's needs. Key points in this: the one who owns the bank is the one who put the money in the bank. The one who puts the money in the bank receives the profit of the bank. So what does this strategy offer you? How can you become your own bank, so to say? Infinite banking concept, it gives you the power to become your own source of financing and control the banking function in your life. Don't give it to Wells Fargo, TD, Chase, what are some of the others? Bank of America. Somebody got to control it, so why can't it be you? Why can't you control your own banking function instead of letting them do it for you? So here, all financial vehicles are not constructed the same. So I'm going to show you a list of different things, right? Different benefits that you get with having your own bank. And I'm going to go through these. Qualified plans. That's your 401ks, your 403bs, the Roth, all that stuff your job or may have. Some of y'all might even have pension, which they got rid of that. You know what I mean? Giving out pensions. But qualified plans is what your employer gives you. They tell you, hey, put your money here. When you get older, it's going to work great for you. You know, you're going to make all this money. Lies, 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 lies. All these benefits here, qualified plans, only really give you one, and that's tax-free growth. When you put your money in there, it grows tax-free. But when it's time to take it out, they're going to tax you. They're going to tax you hard. And it's kind of safe from creditors. You know, they can't take your money. So qualified plans, out of all these benefits, give you absolutely one benefit, which is not great at all. Real estate. I love real estate. Real estate, in the beginning, me and my wife started buying properties. We was paying cash for the properties. 2008 hit. If y'all remember 2008, the real estate market crashed. So the money that we had tied into these properties was gone. just like that, because we thought paying cash for everything and being in that position will put you in a better situation. No, it didn't. Put it in a worse situation. So real estate is great. You want to have it in your portfolio. It's one of them assets that you want to have to generate passive income, but it's nowhere to store your money. Do not buy your house cash. Don't put down large down payments. Don't do none of that. None of the stuff they tell you to do, do the opposite. CDs, money market, and savings. No, 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 no. Yes, no, yes, no. And the yes is liquidity, use, and control. Yeah, you can swipe your debit card to a certain amount, you know. But do you really have control? No. Because if it's, right now, if you go to the ATM machine I seen somewhere in the lobby, don't they got a limit on there? You can have $1 million in there, but if their limit is $300, that's all you want to be able to get out, $300. So you don't have control of your money. So I'm showing you these because this is where we're taught to really put our money at. But where can we put our money at that works best for us? Where it's really going to get every single one of these benefits plus more benefits. We have way more than this, but it'll be a long page. But just to show you some, we do this inside of a whole life insurance policy. Not any life insurance policy. A special design by an infinite banking practitioner, which is me. We use a mutual dividend insurance company. We know how to structure these insurance policies to work for you where you can be in a position to create your own bank and utilize it. And look at it. It offers you safe from creditor and lawsuit proof. Oh, before I say that, I just want you to know, if you already have whole life, you can't go home, dust it off, and expect it to work like this. It's not going to work that way. If it wasn't designed properly by an infinite banking practitioner to really work for you, it's not going to do it. It's not going to work this way. But safe from creditor and lawsuit proof. It protects you. No one can sue you. No one can get to it. Also, you can have millions of dollars in here, and when your children go to college or grandchildren go to college, you don't have to expose this information. The government protects this policy. Guarantee return, gross and return. Here they guarantee a minimum of 4%. You remember back your savings, 0.00 nothing? Here you get a guaranteed 4%, plus dividends, and you might end up 6 to 8%. Transfer, tax-free transfers. As you move your money around, in here it's tax-free. They can't tax you on this money. Tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals. That's major. So if you started off young and when you get to whatever age you want to decide to pull out, you can start today and pull out next week if you put money in it. It's tax-free. You don't have to worry about Uncle Sam telling you at 59 and a half, you got to take out a certain amount. It got to be even distributed over these years. You don't have to worry about any of that because they put it in position to protect you. Guaranteed loan options. Doesn't matter what your credit look like. Doesn't matter if you're working. Doesn't matter if you can afford to pay it back. They do not care. You get a guaranteed loan. Long as you have the money there, it's yours to get it. And why you want to get a loan? Because you want to use OPM. Unstructured loan payments. They're not going to say you borrow $5,000. Next month you got to start back paying $200 over the next 48 years. None of that. You decide how, when, and if you're going to pay it back. Because you don't have to. It's up to you. Collateral opportunity. You can collateralize this. Offers liquidity, use, and control. You definitely can get your money when you need it. It's no problem. And your dollars do more than one job. Because also you have your money working for you inside a bank, growing and compounding for you. And it's also, remember, it's hooked up to life insurance. It's also buying you more death benefit. So as you're putting money in there, you're also getting more and more death benefit to leave your legacy, to leave to your grandchildren, your children. You know, that's how one of the largest wealth transfers that they kind of talk about is through life insurance. People become wealthy just because their parents or grandparents or somebody put themselves in a position to leave them thousands, millions of dollars, whatever it may be. And even if you don't get this, you know, I mean, I would say, well, just life insurance, period. It's too many fish fries, there's too many collection plates going around just to take care of somebody when, for a few dollars, can make a world of a difference and leave something to somebody else. So,